Ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of the scene.
Yo, what the fuck is up, Warped Tour? The state of the scene at SOTS Podcast on all social media. Sam here with Marcos.
Summer mood, to be honest. Hot sand under my feet, Sam. Cold beer, cheap wine. That's all we need, ain't it? Don't you think?
Which Motionless B-side was this?
We got the moves. Electric. Oh boy. Which Motionless B-side is it? That's a serious question.
You know, I ask because there's a couple new ones this week. We're going to talk about it in the news. There's a deluxe version of that Motionless In White record from last year, and a brand new video for a song that is not one of those B-sides, and a bunch of other cool stuff in the news. Marks. Before we get to all that, Blude Ridge Festival was canceled. I mean, not all of it.
Some of it happened. Let the record show.
Yeah.
Some of Thursday happened. Some of Friday happened. And some of Saturday happened.
What, like...
Sunday did not happen.
45% of it got canceled?
It ain't bad.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's a W in my book.
Hey, that's more than last year's When We Were Young. Only 50% of that happened.
That's precisely correct. So right now...
Actually, no. Weren't there 3 dates of that when it was all said and done?
I honestly can't remember.
Because it was...
When We Were
one
Young
weekend,
was such a fucking fever dream.
And then one day the following week, I think.
The only thing I remember from When We Were Young is the first day that it got canceled. It was the funniest day on Twitter in a long time.
Blude Ridge would have toughed that one down.
So does that technically put When We Were Young Festival above Blude Ridge? Because nobody seems to be laughing about this.
Wow. So okay. Let's set the record here.
Let's set it.
Pretty shitty situation all around.
It sucks if you're at Blude Ridge right now, my guy.
For all the fans who attended and spent money on that event. For the bands who spent money getting to that event and not making any money at it, assuming they didn't get to play or sell any merch.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the festival promoters and all that, half your fucking festival didn't happen. So
anybody
not great.
Fucking working that festival, congratulations. You got to go home early. That's pretty good for you guys.
Sunday off, baby.
Because Sunday off. They're no longer working.
God's day.
Paid? Who knows yet? Seems like they might be refunding those tickets. All right, so let's start at the top here. Refunding the tickets feels like a must, right?
Yeah. So that's where we got to start. We got to refund those tickets. What are we doing with Blude Ridge next year?
We're bringing back everybody who was set to play on Sunday.
On Sunday, which was like obviously some pretty big headliners on that bill. I don't think Bad Omens ended up playing this. I think they were a Sunday band.
God
I know Holding
damn.
Absence, 1,000 Below. I think that whole Census Fail tour did not get to play.
You know what's fucking wild?
Baby Metal, I don't think got to play, and they were for Saturday.
We might see some shows pop up around this like we do other times at like festival. I don't know. Part of me feels like I just saw Alpha Wolf say that they were literally playing a show.
Alpha Wolf already played Blude Ridge.
Did they? Oh, never mind. Then I'm take that back. So let's say,
maybe.
Let's say some shows don't happen around this. Let's say this was your tour date for Bad Omens. Fuck, man.
Yeah, that is the rough part here.
Yeah. You can't refund that pain. You know what I'm saying? Like, there ain't no making that right. Listen, I understand a lot of this is under Blude Ridge's. Like, it's out of their control. Like, weather sucks. Yo, I was like, what the fuck are you going to do?
Yeah, listen, fucking Category 5 hurricane, I guess, right? Like,
is it that bad?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's bad, but I didn't, like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if it's bad or if it's too bad to have an outdoor music festival. You know what I mean? Because there are levels, right?
You put the word extreme over weather advisory, and I'm taking that pretty seriously to mean that, like...
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, it could be something, not super mild.
I thought it was severe. I didn't realize it was extreme.
Well, it might be severe, but to me, those are the same thing.
Those are the same thing to you? Catastrophic?
They're not far off from each other
same thing?
to me. This one sucks all around, I think.
Do you kind of feel like listen, y'all, let's be real. Let's fucking be real for a minute. You go to Blue Ridge, you put your whole fucking life on the line. That's the price of Blue Ridge. That is the price to see every fucking band you love in a weekend. That's not just $300. No, the price is life or death. Like, that's how fucking serious this shit is.
Some
bro.
of these
Blue Ridge
bands
made a deal with the fucking devil to get this lineup this weekend.
Yeah, some of these bands may have played a show before Blue Ridge happened this year, but all of them were revived specifically to play Blue Ridge. Color Morale, who didn't get to play. Amir, who may not have gotten to play.
Blessy.
I See Stars, Bless the Fall, right. Bless the Fall didn't get to play. They were on, like, Thursday. They were one of the headbands that day, and I think they shuttered Thursday's lineup before getting through most of that.
All I'm saying is, listen, this is Blue Ridge. Like, it's either it's going to be the best or worst day of your life. That's just a Blue Ridge day, right? Like, it's you're either going to see every band you love or the whole thing is going to get canceled. That's the risk you take going to Blue Ridge, right?
So I think what Blue Ridge has to do next year is pick a different location. I get the whole Blue Ridge, the fucking mountainside,
dodge weather and shit. You know what I mean?
You're not wrong, but I think that, like, I think we have to, like, put the camping thing to rest, because that everything I've seen hasn't.
Does that create like a big problem in like a completely different space?
No, that's. Yeah, yes,
because literally you have everybody show up.
But that's what I'm saying is you move to a different space. This has to be in the fucking city, in some massive fucking parking lot like Warped Tour was.
I think this is bigger than Warped, though.
Do this at a fucking football stadium.
You're talking like Motor Speedway type beat like they did in Florida like a couple months back or whatever?
I think that's what it has to be. That, or clearly there's an issue with Virginia in September, and we got to pull this shit forward to August or at least like July, something like that. But I think if we try to do Blue Ridge again in the same location, same time frame,
Tempting Fate type beat.
Yeah, of course. I just think it's been this is a repeat offense at this point in terms of Blue Ridge not going the way everyone expected it to for like 3 years in a row.
Yeah. It's
it's just the truth. It's shitty. Don't get me wrong. This is awful.
Fucking sucks if you're there. It's hilarious.
It sucks if your band's like Bury Tomorrow and Baby Metal, who like went out of their way to come to Virginia of all places.
Fucking Virginia. It's hilarious thinking back to last week when we were like, man, it sucks. We're not gonna make it to Blue Ridge this year.
Yeah, I tweeted out fucking Thursday like that should be me there.
And then people people like showing pictures of like, yeah, they're 10 floating away in a fucking torrential downpour. Yeah. It's like fucking bullet dodged on that one, bro.
The whole like water line situation. It's just a shame. Like, it just obviously it didn't play out, but it also didn't seem like it was set up to play out
up for
extremely
success.
well in the first place. Which is why I think like obviously all of these other concerts, these festivals, I feel like they happen with less of a hitch in a way. So it's like almost all of your fucking...
Wasn't it just earlier this fucking year that people were complaining about like Slam Dunk and how like a fucking like nightmare they thought that was, and the space was too small and it was overcrowded and they oversold taking all this other fucking shit.
Like Blue Ridge.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not specifically a Blue Ridge problem. It definitely feels like these festivals are just like I don't fucking know, because plenty of them do seem to go off without a hitch. It just maybe not everyone is as well prepared to host this type of event. I don't fucking know. This just Blue now looking back, Blue Ridge just seemed like it was too good to be true forever. It's like now I'm looking at it, I was like, there was no way this was gonna go off without a hit. It would have been perfect. It would have been too perfect. It was literally every band you could ever want to see in one fucking weekend.
Yeah, and once you started like looking at those set times,
Tempting Fate.
Sleep Token bleeds into like Lorna Shore for half an hour. It's like, man, you weren't even gonna get to see all your favorite bands in the first place.
I don't know what people do now, because like if this was your Sleep Token date, and I think Sleep Token got to play, but like Bad Omens, like we were saying, man, oh boy, good fucking luck getting a ticket from one of those other shows, because that's just like, it's not like the option is to go catch this band, you know, one state over the next day. That show's sold the fuck out, y'all.
And it has been.
And Icy Stars being on that. Icy Stars feel like a band that were coming back from like Blue Ridge,
a cost-effective way to see all of those tours. So it's not like you did go and buy tickets for any of these bands, right?
And a lot of the tweets I see coming out about this is like, listen, it's not just the weather, y'all. Like, this is a fucking nightmare situation, and it's hard to parse like exactly like how much of it is this is festival culture, and it's like if you're not prepared for it, like this is like, hey, listen. Like, you get overcharged for a bunch of shit. The lines for the bathrooms fucking suck. Like,
always, yeah.
This seems like it just happens kind of fairly consistently with like, a lot of these things.
Part of me is like, I sort of miss it sometimes, right? Like,
you're nostalgic
you say all
for it.
that, and I'm like, man, Warped Tour, those are the days.
Sure,
like,
sure.
I miss standing in line for that water. Granted, water should be free.
Warped Tour had a lot of this fucking shit too, though. You're right. Is waiting in line for fucking ever, and then like,
you want a burrito? That'll be $24.
Yeah, precisely.
You want a Gatorade? $9.
Does it feel like, though, the fact that this seems to happen every like 6 months in a way that we don't ever seem to learn? And again, like the weather shit is so out of anyone's control. It's just like, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just like you figure out a way to do this like indoors somewhere. It's not like Blue Ridge doesn't sell enough fucking tickets to host this at a college football stadium.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Rent out the stadium and the parking lot surrounding it. 2-3 stages outside, 2 inside. Maybe back to back, or not back to back, but like one side of the field, the other side of the field.
Back to back, bro. It fucking sucks for everybody who's stuck there, because it's also like this is like the When We Were Young Fest. It just feels a little less funny because it's canceled for severe weather and not windy winds. Yeah. But like,
well, that and
there are people who's like, this is your
like,
whole fucking vacation shit 100%. Too. Like, you take the whole fucking weekend off.
The killer here is that like, okay, these people don't have hotels to go back to at the end of the night. Like, When We're Young gets canceled, sure, it fucking absolutely sucks, but like, all those same bands are playing literally the day after.
There's also some shit to do in Vegas, by the way, like, right, to make up for the
going back to a hotel.
Yeah,
that has a casino downstairs.
Yeah. Blue Ridge is like, oh, my guy, you're getting Subway, and that is the rest of your fucking dream weekend.
Also, it gets canceled. Like When We Were Young, all those bands are popping up midnight with their own little crazy shows.
Yeah, that was wild, the way bands like prop that shit up around it.
But yeah, I just don't think Blue Ridge can do that location anymore. And at the very least, they can't do that timeline. We have to move this to like June, July, I think. It's hotter, sure. Probably.
I mean,
it's not like September wasn't fucking hot.
So I guess the problem you run into is that like you don't wanna be going against another festival, right? Because those are already like booking bands this far out. So
it's all the same bands. It's all the same bands.
I mean, I know it's all the fucking same bands.
If you went to like, fucking, what was the one?
Louder Than Life is literally also happening this weekend, I think, which is funny. If not this weekend, then like last weekend or the weekend after. Part of me feels like it's this weekend, but it would kind of be crazy for 2 festivals to be happening in one weekend, because like, you're right, it's all the same band. So how are they, like, are they going Friday they're playing here, Saturday they're playing here type thing? But I don't know.
But they are. Look at every concert poster right now. Mm-hmm. You have 3 dates that are like asterisked as headliner only, because they're playing all of them.
Yeah. Every date on the fucking Concrete Forever tour is sold out except for Blue Ridge, which technically like anybody could come to, right?
The biggest difference with Blue Ridge is it happens to be that like all of those bands just happen, like they have like the whole bill play. So like you have that Shinedown, Papa Roach, Spirit Box tour. It's not just Shinedown playing. They just have the whole tour bill. Senses Fail, 1,000 Below, holding absence, right? That seems to be the big difference, is you don't have the asterisks on those posters.
This is the universe balancing shit out. I told you this was too good to be true.
It's a shame.
You cannot see all of the greatest bands in the scene in one weekend. Like, it's just like the fucking, like, the Cosmos won't allow that shit.
You want to see Blue Ridge succeed, right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. I don't know. Disappointing all around, though.
I want to see When We Were Young fail though. They're my mortal enemies.
Well, like the other one they did not go off without a hitch. The Sick New World or whatever.
What was the problem with that?
I heard like all of the audio was atrocious throughout like all of the stages.
Well, that sucks. Maybe they just had the same filter that 100 Gex uses, but for every band. They never, you know what I mean?
They accidentally downloaded it for everyone.
It's like, why is everybody playing in night mode? All right, listen, everybody. Every link you need is in the description of this episode, including our socials, playlist, merch, and Discord. Subscribe to us on YouTube at SOTS Podcast YT and leave a thumbs up if you're watching the video version of the podcast. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave 5 stars. And if you want to support the show, consider becoming a patron for early access, stickers, Discord benefits, producer credits, and our video content, the ability to ask questions on the weekly show. And before we move on, one final well wishes to everybody who's at fucking Blue Ridge. Sorry that turned out to be a fucking
Hopefully you're home
shit
by
show.
the time you're listening to this.
Man, on God. Hopefully everybody stays safe. Hopefully all the bands stay safe. It's like, it sucks to watch the dream just like fucking go down the drain like that. What a fucking bummer. Let's review some albums.
The Breakdown.
Yeah, starting with Ferality by UnityTX.
SAT, bitch, don't fucking love me. SAT, bitch, don't fucking love me. SAT, bitch, don't fucking love me.
UnityTX.
SAT, bitch, don't fucking love me. Okay. SAT, bitch, don't fucking love me.
This is the Dallas, Texas Outfit's second studio album, released the 8th of September via Pure Noise Records. Ferality consists of 11 tracks and, of course, is the much anticipated follow-up to 2021's Hellway mixtape, which was a lot of fun. Again, this one has 11 tracks. UnityTX.
UnityTX, baby. Let's fucking get into it. This is some of the hype shit I've heard all goddamn year. I had so much fun listening to this. It took a second to get me hooked. You know what I mean? It was like, it took a second for me to wrap my head around what UnityTX was doing with this album. And once I fucking figured it out, and essentially what they're doing is not only like penning like the sweetest love letter to nu metal, but also like pushing it forward into what feels like some fun and exciting spaces.
Some uncharted territory a little bit.
And it's like, once I got on this shit's wavelength, I could not believe how much I was enjoying myself.
Right. Like you had to get on this album's level. It didn't
little
have
bit,
to like
yeah.
come down to your level.
For sure.
It starts off in a pretty interesting way. I think it ramps up very interestingly for the first 3 tracks. Because initially you got like Rotting Away Gore. And I don't think it's like the craziest song to kick an album off with. I don't think it's bad by any means, but like then you get to Burnout, the second track, and that's when you really start to think like, okay, this is pretty fucking solid. And then you get to number 3, Diamond Eyes. That is actually this band's best song.
Diamond Eyes
period.
Is this band's best song, period. It's not even fucking close.
It's this weird like spooky little sexy goosebumps ass song. Where it's like instrumentally, like I don't know, like it's got this really spooky vibe to it, and like it's almost like it's hard to describe. It's
got like a little bit of like a gross little grimy texture to it, which a lot of this
like
album kind of has.
Like something like Boston Manor might do, like with the guitar work.
But then it kind of switches up a little bit, and that's sort of what makes it so exciting. And it's kind of what makes this whole thing so exciting is that there's like a versatility to the artists here that let them like filter in and out of so many styles, almost specifically within like the nu metal genre, but you start to learn how like deep that genre runs just by how they showcase all of those different styles across this album, right?
Yeah.
And then when they bring in a little bit of like that trap shit is when I think it really pops off. And that's where I think we start to see like kind of the future of like nu metal that we should have had if more bands like were maybe either A, grasped onto this, or B, were capable of it.
Yeah, but it's also like different styles of like hip hop, right? So take a song like Rock Shit. It's very different to a song like Picture This. Like,
Yeah.
Picture This is like a more like traditional hip hop song, really bearing all. And then Rock Shit is like that hype trap stuff where you're just fucking, you want to like punch a wall listening to it.
Bro, I punched so many things listening to this fucking shit, bro. All of it. I punched you when we listened to this. It was crazy.
You talk about like variety, and this is a classic example of an album where like you've got 5 or 6 tracks that are completely unlike one another. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it all fits in the same album, but that's the kind of variety we're dealing with here, where it's like, man, you go from a song like Rotting Away to Diamond Eyes, Picture This, Killing Alchemy, Rock Shit, World of Malice. All of those songs have very little in common.
But like all of that being said, you pointed out that they all sort of still feel like they're at home together on this
100%.
record, and I think that's why this works so well. It's because even though we're constantly shifting, we never really break the flow of this album in a way that's really satisfying, and it's just like so impressive when you like just take a step back and look at it, because it almost sets itself up for failure by trying so many different things, but because they all work so well,
Right.
it ends up being like you just sort of like left in awe of it.
Like you do expect like a misstep between any of those decisions.
And
at
I
any
mean, I
point.
will say that like at its worst, I think it starts off a little soft with Rotting Away. Like I personally don't think that's the best track on here, and it maybe made it a little hard for me to like immediately love this, because it's like that first track just doesn't click
it's
with
sort of
me the way I
deflating a
needed.
little bit.
I almost needed the title track to really start this off, because
set-
I'm so bought into that immediately.
Rock Shit would have set the tone incredibly well at the top of this. But I think it goes off on like a really fucking excellent batch of songs between Killing Alchemy, which has some cool guitar work, Rock Shit, of course, Fake Love, where it's just like some sort of ignorant type shit, and World of Malice, like ignorant in like a very hardcore way. Like the last 30 seconds of that song are fucking perfect. I was super fucking happy with this.
And it's like all that. It's like you try to get into like the nitty and gritty of it, but you just pull back and you're just kind of like, I just really enjoyed myself listening to this record.
Yeah.
It's like I just had a lot of fucking fun with it, and I feel like, man, there is the Unity Texas in a lot of ways, like it, but most explicitly in a way that they bring a certain like. It's not enthusiasm is not the word I'm looking for. There's just like I think part of it comes from hip hop. It's just like when you get into like the lyrical content of this album, so much of it is not the blandness that I've come to expect from a lot of the bands that are in Unity Texas space, because they're able to bring in those hip hop elements. And I just think that's so much more fucking exciting when you like combine those different styles.
Yeah.
And it's like, you look at a lot of like new metal and it's like you kind of know the vibe, and you especially know like the lyrical content like real quick, but they sort of take that and they flip it on its head, because it's like the tonally it's like the same, but it's so much more like fascinating and like such a trip to listen to, in a way that it's like, God, I wish we had more blending of styles in this way that this band does it throughout this scene. And it's like still so crazy to me that it's once every 9 to 10 months we talk about an album like this that does this kind of stuff, right?
100%.
Because it's so like it's so rich for the taking, like like if there were more bands that could do this kind of style of music.
Yeah, I think above all else, this one is like it's essentially what it says it is. It's fucking feral, right? Like
Yeah, it's fucking feral,
for
for
for all the times it's vulnerable and ignorant. Above all else, it's feral. Definitely go check it out. Especially check out Diamond Eyes. Huge song. We're moving on now to Death Awaits by Blind Equation. This is the Chicago, Illinois outfit's second studio album, arriving the 15th of September via Prosthetic Records. Death Awaits consists of 10 tracks and is the much anticipated follow-up to 2021's debut LP, Life is Pain. Sam, give it to me. What did you think about this one?
Oh, man, this one's fun. If you want to define it as simply like as humanly possible, like this is literally just like if somebody took a video game OST and dropped some screamo over it, you would have Blind Equation. I think you could even narrow the focus even further, and like it's almost just experimental. Like what this is just like I would define this as experimental, which makes it such a fucking, and it makes Blind Equation such a fucking quintessential alternative band within this scene moving forward, because it's just like, God, do we need more visionaries like this fucking band? Like UnityTX is a little bit fucking too, you know?
Visionary super applies to Blind Equation, mostly because, like, dude, honestly, there's no other band you've heard that sounds anything like this one, right? Imagine.
I understand there may be other bands out like there, but I haven't explored as many of them. This is very much our entry into like cyber grind, right?
Yes. So, but just no one feels like this band at the moment. You put it really well, and I'll go into a little bit more detail as far as like video game OST goes. Imagine stepping into a sonic realm where the music transports you to the heart of an 8-bit dungeon crawler, Sam. And not just any moment in that game, but specifically like the boss battle. Like everything on this record just gets your blood fucking flowing, and it gets you sweating, right? It just takes you on this journey through these like really pixelated landscapes, infusing the essence of classic video game soundtracks, OSTs, with elements of deathcore, metal grind, etc., or whatever. And the end result, again, is just, honestly, more than anything else, it's just really hypnotizing. That's what I came away from this album with.
Yeah,
like, it's really cool, but above all else, like, I just get fucking mesmerized listening to it. Like, I'm just in a fucking daze. Yeah. You have to snap me out of like whatever I'm in when I'm listening to this.
And I think part of that is there's just a lot in here to kind of just get lost in. Like, it really is kind of all consuming in the way that it plays out. So in terms of like cyber grind, I like that this is both like my introduction to cyber grind, and it feels like also like a quintessential example of it. But in a weird way, I think this is like, this for me feels more of just like another variation of emo music in a weird way. Like, it just is another like unique outlet to communicate like the most like heavily weighted emotional like emotions.
Sure.
And feelings. Like, ultimately, this is just like another, this feels like when, you know, we started getting all of those like hip hop emo acts and stuff like this. This feels like another variation of that, where it's just like a different like avenue to like communicate the same feelings.
The thing that's going to get lost in like all of the instrumentals talk here is that like lyrically, this band's going through it for the most part. You know, you see it in like the closing track. You see it on the tracks You Betrayed the Ones You Loved,
Which was a single.
Suffering in Silence, I think, was also, or Killing Me was also a single, I believe.
Speaking of Suffering in Silence, that fucking song in particular does such a fucking beautiful job of marrying like all of this chaotic energy that this brand like brings, but with like a weird tinge of like familiarity, and that's where it really like weaponizes using these like familiar tones of music that would accompany like a high stress moment in like a video game, but it's used here to like elicit like that same emotion from us that we might have experienced in that moment. It's like it knows how to weaponize instances in your life where you might have been stressed or anxious, and then like use that here to make you sort of like feel the same sensations. It's almost like a nostalgia play without ever directly being one, because it's like if you can relate to the feeling of knowing like exactly what this sort of style of like music was communicating to you in a different experience, like it works just as well here.
I don't know if this applied for you or not too, but I was thinking to myself after a couple of listens with this one that like the backbone of the song is actually like the screaming and the lyrics, or rather like I almost thought to myself walking away from this one that like the screaming was the instrument and the vocals were all of the instrumentals, because they're blended together in a way that like neither of them really, or really like the instrumentals pop a little bit more over the vocals at times, that it almost seems like that's the focus, and then the vocals are just like the dressing to that as opposed to the other way around.
I understand what you're sort of trying to say. You're right. Like in this instance, it makes me think back to like when we like first discussed like a band like Suicide Silence, and you're like, listen, y'all, it's like listen to like this metal
The
band.
vocals
and
are just
that's
another
happening
instrument,
on, right?
yeah.
And it's like the right,
sort of that. But like one of the few instances where like I found myself focusing so much more on like the instrumentals that I'm hearing over the vocals and what they're trying to communicate. That's just not how I listen to music, but like this band almost forces your hand to do it in that opposite way.
Yeah, no, I understand exactly.
Or at least for me personally, right?
I think that I think Blind Equation are what makes this work is that they're so adept at combining all of those styles in what could have been like a spectacular fucking failure
if they weren't so adept at it.
Yeah, if they weren't so adept at it, but because of that, it's like watching some of the sharpest minds at their craft. It's like, man, this band is it's like it's not only is this cool, this band is very good at what they're doing here, because a lot of this feels like on paper should not work as well as it does.
Right, but like coming out of it, it feels like so refreshingly innovative that they're almost like ingenious for it in a way.
Yeah. And then like alternatively, it also knows how to hit the fucking gas in like a way that just makes things really exciting. Like in a way that's just like a little bit more like it's Neanderthal shit, but it's like from like the smartest people in the room. Sure. You know what I mean? It's just like, goddamn, it's like there's a million things happening here at once, but boy, do we know when to like pivot to like this little clean breakdown.
It really reminds me at times of someone like 100 Gex.
Yeah, very much so. Like definitely like the same mindset. In terms of like individual tracks, I think that the closer is just like such a beautiful send-off. It's just like such a fucking gut-wrenching song. And it does a really good job of just sort of like, it's like everything has prepared you for the closer. You know what I mean?
100%. I also wanted to shout out, I really love the track title, Speedrunning Life. It's just so fucking clever, I think.
That is fun, yeah. Yeah, I was really impressed with this. While it's on my mind, we should review this and then go back and give our score for Unity Texas real quick, because I think we forgot to give that.
Unity Texas.
You want to do Unity Texas?
I'm gonna give it a light 4. I'm gonna give it a light 4.
I'm gonna give it a light 4 too, because the crazy fucking thing about Unity Texas is that I
getting
hear
better.
it. Yeah, but it's like you hear it and you're like, God, there's almost like a perfect version of this band has in them.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, not that I felt like there were a lot of flaws in there, but it felt like it just feels
I'm
like
gonna be real with
growing
you.
potential.
Since we kind of got out of that review and like now we're in the Blind Equation review, like that first track is not their best work. It's not my favorite.
Okay,
so I feel a little safer.
You're doing it outside of the review?
Outside of the review.
This is a safe space?
Rotting Away Gore is not my favorite track.
Bugs will have more to say about Blind Equation in the following review as
yeah,
well.
I know, right?
I think this is also a 4 for that same fucking vibe for me, where it feels like
I see like an extremely cool version of this that's better.
I see the perfect version of this
Yes.
from this band, and this is like phase 1. You know what I mean?
100%.
Where it's like, God, we're doing so many cool things so well, but I think it's just like, it's almost like I know in my gut that there's an almost even better version of this. But just in terms of like innovators, they're both like, looking at Unity and Blind Equation, they're both 5s. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like comparing it to a lot of the other bands I listen to. I wish artists that, while I may enjoy them, they could be this creative and think this far outside of the box, because that's like what I kind of hope to get out of like artists in the scene ultimately.
100%.
Marcus, that leaves us with just one record to talk about this week.
It does. Human by Resolve.
Playing God, but it was not enough. I couldn't see clear, but it's so beyond. To the sun.
This is the French outfit's second studio album, arriving the 15th of September via A Rising Empire Records. Human consists of 11 tracks and is the much anticipated follow-up to 2021's debut LP, Between Me and the Machine. Did I say debut LP or EP? It's an LP, just to
It's an LP. You said
really
sure,
hammer
bro.
that
You
home.
said LP.
To really hammer that home. I'm not gonna lie, I had an extremely great time with this one.
Yeah, I'm fucking with you, to be honest.
And like, I'm talking from song 1 all the way through the very end of this album.
I feel like I learned who this band was listening to this album, and not from any of the singles that I heard prior to it. Like, I think I did not have this band
whole different
pinned
experience
at
yeah.
all, right? Until I finally listened to this album, and I'm like, oh, this is Resolve.
Well,
I get it now.
Well, it's funny because you don't get who Resolve is right away. You have to listen to this whole album because, like, in theory, this band is sort of just like this really cool chameleon of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Where this is a really interesting record where. Not quite unlike the UnityTX thing, but a different experience for me. This one felt like listening to a playlist by a band, and not as much a full like album. And what I mean by that is like there are so many times where we'll listen to, especially a metalcore album, throughout the course of a year, and like I get so bored by track 3 because I know track 4 and 5 and 6 will sound the same as the song I'm listening to. And at some point, it becomes sort of a chore to get
I can't
through.
believe you're coming for the whole fucking metalcore scene in this review. This
whole
is crazy
genre,
right now, bro.
whole genre. And this one's a little different because, like, there are times I'm forgetting that I'm listening to Resolve on here because you'll go from tracks like Bloodlust, which has this band sounding like a fit for a king of sorts, into In Stone, and it's this much softer approach. Into songs like Move to Trash, which like remind me of like Ocean Grove at times. The tracks Human, Mood and Child are like Siamese / Normandy type things, real big focus on the vibes essentially, plus the vocals are highlighted very well in those tracks specifically. So like there are times where I'm listening to this and I get to like track 3 Older Days, and it's so different to like the 2 tracks I'd heard prior that I almost have to like check and make sure I'm still listening to the album I put on, but in like a really exciting way, because then I realize like, oh, this is still Resolve. This is still the album Human. And like, I don't know, it just like my interest keeps peaking in a very unfamiliar way almost.
There's like there's like
at least with this genre.
There's like a very boring version of this band that I thought I was going to get out of this album, and they so fucking like snap my fucking like ankles.
100%. Yeah. So yeah, there are moments on here where again it's like when you think that they're gonna like start to sound familiar, they throw another curveball at you. They break your ankles again and again and again, and it just makes for such an exhilarating listen. And like, don't get me wrong, when it's all said and done, like you've heard this album. I mentioned like Siamese. This is almost a Siamese record. But like there are so many instances where like they inject something different that like you're just constantly paying attention. That's the biggest difference between this and a lot of other metalcore albums. Like the other ones that you might listen to throughout the course of the year, they beg you to stop paying attention. This one implores you to continue paying attention.
Yeah, bro, you better stick to it, because you've called this metalcore album of the year like 3 times. You better fucking stick to this, bro. You better fucking stick to. You fucking dumped on every other metalcore band in the genre doing this review right now, bro.
But it's like, part of it's because like what you said, where it's like, I go into this and I think I already have this band figured out, and it turns out
thought this was the boring band, and they're not even fucking close. Here's what it is. So like the familiar element of this band is like, listen, they almost remind me a little bit of Landmarks in a way, where they got like this sort of like upbeat, aggressive, like it's almost more post-hardcore than it is metalcore at times.
Yeah, it's extremely well paced.
Yeah, but
like within a song.
So they do it extremely well. Not we're cutting the comparison to Landmarks and doing something different now. I think this band does it extremely well because they do such a good job of like dancing between the harsher tones and like that soothing, airy vocal delivery in a way that's just like infinitely compelling on this album. I think Older Days is like a fucking mastercraft and blending styles like very elegantly and very compellingly. And I think that overall, the album has like a magic, almost like whimsical sense to it, and like this heart and this optimism that create like a very fulfilling sensation in me. I think that this album has that rare capability of giving you goosebumps when you listen to certain songs, where it just like elicits a real emotional reaction out of me.
No better example than like the last 20 seconds of Human. And it's almost just because they decide to lean in a bit to like a part of the song that you expect to cut out. But like the last like 20 seconds of that song are insane to me.
They just know how to manipulate you in a way that's like really fucking devastatingly good.
One thing I really wanted to emphasize and drive home, and Human's a really great example of that, is this just sounds really full. It's just a really full and rich sound throughout the entirety of this album and these songs that like it's one of those instances where you miss things the first go around almost.
Yeah, like the little fucking key work and continuum.
Yep.
I think the best example of that fullness is In Stone, which like invites the orchestra to join in on what feels like a fucking Disney movie theme song in a way that might turn some people off, but I'm telling you, it is the most magical shit you will ever hear, and it's square in the middle of a metalcore record, and it still manages to hit like a ton of bricks. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Ignite is really rich as well. Again, Moonchild as well. I think Older Days actually might be the best example outside of In Stone. That song's got a massive chorus too. I think that might be my favorite track on here.
There's just a lot of gorgeous melodies, and it's all sort of couched within something that's a little more abrasive. I just like, you know, we talk about those last two records being like really innovative and like sort of pushing into a space we haven't heard before. And Resolve sort of comes into one and like does a lot of things that are very familiar, but does them at a level that is so MVP that it just sort of like makes everyone else look like they've been playing at like a preseason level.
Yeah.
It's just like incredibly good. So this is like my third 4 in a row, but
Me
like for a
too,
completely different reason. You know what I mean?
But like you're right, because this catches you equally off guard as those other two records, but for entirely different reasons. And mostly it's because you just didn't expect this record to be that great. I didn't expect to, like, when we like mapped out what reviews looked like this week, I didn't walk into it thinking to myself like, Resolve, they're getting a 4. I was sitting there like, yeah, UnityTX, been really looking forward to Ferality. Man, I hope that's a 4. This stupid little Blind Equation band who does things I've never heard of in my life, that's probably a 4 because it's super fucking interesting.
And this one is like zero expectations, right? It's just like, I kind of know what I'm getting into, but like balls in your court.
And like, also like, it's very low key all around. Like this band's band name, like Resolve. Okay. The album title being Human, like there's so little to initially latch onto that like, you don't know what to expect.
Right,
whatsoever.
God has called upon his soldiers, you and I, to come in here and help sell this fucking Resolve album, and I'm here to do it. This
Like
shit is
Moonchild would have been a fucking better
wild.
title than Human. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. This
Even though Human is like the concept and the theme of this, whatever. All that's, you know, it's not lost on me. But like overall, what certainly isn't lost on me is just how fucking much these songs bang.
recommend this week. 3
in
for
a row.
3. Cool albums that are all sort of massively different from one another. Like,
Yes.
like in a way, like in the most way that like any other week we've had this year.
Interestingly enough, yeah.
All right, before we get to the news, as always, the State of the Scene is brought to you by Shibori Threads,
Shibori.
the clothing label of the alternative music scene.
The news.
Marcos, Motionless In White released a deluxe version of Scoring the End of the World with 4 additional tracks and also dropped a new music video for Sign of Life.
Let's talk about Sign of Life.
Let's start with Sign of Life.
Really, like no-brainer for a single, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised actually heading into that album that wasn't one of the initial ones.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe everybody else just sort of like, when all was said and done, they were like, yeah, this is probably worth the single push. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like on paper, all of like everything says like thumbs up.
Yes, 100%. And they do a really great job of selling the song as a single because this fucking video is extremely watchable.
All right, let's talk about this band soft launching their new look, which is having fun colory hair.
I feel like they always have, but now like Chris has extra fun colory hair.
Right, so he's made it like more noticeable by like
Right.
jumping in on this trend.
So now Chris has like we went from blonde era in this record to like deluxe version, purple hair now, and like this whole video is filmed with like this, like it's a white setting, so everything pops. Green hair pops, red hair pops,
Yeah.
purple hair, even black hair pops a little bit.
Black hair
Sam.
pops a little bit. Black hair pops a little bit.
And we're talking like we're pulling out all the stops. We got 3 Chris's in this video, right?
Literally three Chris's.
3 Chris's. Maybe just no 3 because we got the singing Chris.
Yeah,
We got Ghost Chris, Ghost Nurse Chris,
Ghost Nurse Chris. Yeah,
Ghost Nurse Chris, and then No Sign of Life.
the
Hospital
patient.
Bed
Chris the patient.
Yeah.
Chris the patient.
Chris
yeah,
the patient.
Chris the patient. Yeah, it's such a fucking visual treat to watch. Highly recommend. But what I really want to talk about though are these 4 additional tracks that we're getting on here. So we have 2 B-sides that are like songs you haven't heard in any capacity before. Let's start with the first one, Hollow Point.
Yes. My least favorite of the 2 new deluxe Little Baby singles.
This was like the most B-side a song has ever been in its whole
Careful.
life. Like I immediately heard it and I was like, yes, Motionless in White went into the studio. They took this Motionless in White thing, this Motionless in White thing. They put together a song and like ultimately they walked away and said Cyberhex is better. Cut it. You know what I mean? But then alternatively we have Fool's Gold, which
is a little bit better.
I think that could have made the album cut. I think that could have made the
100%.
album cut. That one
I-
sounds strong.
I take that song over a couple of the other ones, like Red, White, Boom, you know?
Absolutely. Like that one just feels like everything clicks in a way that like is so very motionless, right?
100%.
Though you did point out that like part of you is like these songs need to be properly named motionless songs.
These are, like, I
we
guess,
should
like,
almost have more fun because they're B-sides.
right. Like, I get, like, Signs of Life isn't, like, the most unique Motionless in White title, but, like, Fool's Gold, Hollow Point just feels so, like, hollow in a way. Like, I was ready for, like, not that these had to be Undead 3 and Undead Ahead 4.
Right.
But, like-
but we have opportunity. It's almost like there's opportunity to fuck around a little bit with B-sides. You know what I mean?
Especially on this album where it feels like they got back in their fuck around era a little bit.
Also, this band didn't cut the heaviest song from this album by any means. Like, it's not like there were 2 like deathcore tracks this band had tucked away. These songs sound like they would belong on this album in any fashion.
I think what's ultimately funnier here is that, like, I walked away really happy it was Signs of Life that got the video treatment over these 2 new bonus tracks.
I think it is Sign of Life. I don't think there's an S to it, bro.
who
It's got
knows?
me fucked up because I overthink it too.
I'm just a hopeful person. I want multiple Signs of Life, not just the one.
You're right. Ultimately, I do go, yeah, we should circle. Like, there's more songs on that album that deserve music videos than like these 2 new ones.
Yeah. We got obviously we got a few more. We got
The runaway hit is
acoustic portrait version, like the portrait acoustic, I guess. Portrait reimagined is fucking amazing.
fucking amazing. Like it makes me want a whole album that sounds literally just like that. Like, let's just fucking scale it way down and then just do this weird vibey, like, haunted Halloween pumpkin patch ride type shit. It's perfect.
Really great song.
And then a little quick reminder that Time Bomb's pretty good.
Yeah, Scoring the End of the World mix, which I don't know. It's been a while since I listened to that song, so I don't really know what the differentiator was, whether it was just like some added production or if they threw in a little few more things that we didn't really have the first time around. I'm happy it got like on something officially, but overall it's not my favorite Motionless song.
It got on the vinyl drop. It got on the vinyl.
Yeah.
Icy Stars released a new single called Are We Threevin'? It's their third new single this year following Anomaly and Drift, and they are currently supporting Bad Omens on the Concrete Forever tour alongside Era.
Is it Are We Threven because he asks, are we even, like 3 times in a row? I missed it. I didn't catch it. I didn't.
Am I
catch
supposed
it.
to know, bro? I don't know.
I don't know if you caught it. I don't know if you
feel
caught
like
it.
Icy Stars just likes doing fuck shit and naming their songs in dumb ways and stuff like
Not
that.
wrong,
Like I
not
don't think there's any.
Well, it wasn't Drift with like a 1 as the I.
Obviously, it's because it's the third song in the Are We Threven trilogy. You know what I mean? Like I was like, it's.
Could you imagine this is
right
all
there.
Icy Stars came back with? Just these 3 songs.
It was just these. We're getting an EP later this year, and it's just these 3 songs bundled together. So what's exciting about this is that we finally got a music video from this band since their return, and it's just like sort of a reintroduction. The boys are back in town. The boys are back in the warehouse. They're literally the same place they filmed the Murder Mitten video, and they're still looking fucking dope as fuck, and they all dress really cool, but now they got like a little more swagger than before. Like they're pointing their guitars at the camera and like gunning you down.
Yep.
There's like an aesthetic like marriage between all of their styles and how they're dressed, and even Luke Collins here, which is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah, and
that like
and
they pulled him
granted,
in.
He did do like the drum on these songs, but we just didn't expect to see him in the video.
I didn't expect
we
to see
figured
him
it
in
would be
video.
like
I felt
the.
like I was starstruck. It was weird. I was like, my guy's in a fucking Icy Stars video right now. Welcome the fuck back.
Kind of expected it to be like what a lot of bands do when they lose their drummer and they just like don't show the drumming at all in a video.
Yeah, or it's like it's a guy. He plays drums. He's dressed like all the other members.
Here's his back.
He may or may not be on this tour with us. He may or may just be in this
Sure.
music video, like so on and so forth. You said this was your favorite Icy Star song in the new 3?
Yeah, I think this one clears. It clears both Anomaly and Drift for me. I think I take Anomaly right after it, and maybe Drift last because I've spent the least amount of time with it.
Okay.
Of those 2 tracks,
Drift
but
is definitely last. I go back and forth with Are We Threven and Anomaly, though.
I think where I'm at right now is that like I don't know if it was just because those were the return tracks, but this new song clicked with me immediately. Those other 2 like took a couple of listens. I'm not gonna lie. Like Anomaly, it wasn't just immediate like this one was.
Yeah.
This one was like very Icy Stars to me, like picking up right where we left off type beat. So like immediately, it's just I don't know. This is my song so far.
This is clean off a Treehouse. Like this is like this song got axed and like they kept it. You know what I mean? They were
Yep.
like, this is too good not to keep. Fall Out Boy have announced so much for To War Dust with support from Jimmy Eat World, The Main, Hot Mulligan, Daisy Grenade, Games We Play, and Car. Marcos, how are we feeling about the second leg of this tour?
This is pretty solid.
Obviously not as heavy as the first leg of this
like
tour.
our first one was like pretty tight all around. I think
pretty
we had like
tight.
yeah, like you had
Bring Me was direct support.
I know. But what I'm saying is like all of the other bands, like I'm trying to remember who they were.
Gorilla Grip tight, pretty fucking tight, bro.
Well,
Get
we
the
had
fuck
like
out of here.
Royal and the Serpent. Who else was like? Who were all the other ones? You
4
know?
Year Strong was there.
So that's what I mean.
Games We Play was there again.
Were they?
Yeah, they were on the first
Good for
leg of
them.
this. Like whatever, because everybody gets like a little symbol next to their name that says they're sometimes here but not always.
So this one's not as good as that one, if we're being honest with ourselves. But it's also
not
pretty
quite
tight.
as strong as that one because it's hard to top Bring Me, and Jimmy Eat World definitely ain't
They're
gonna
not
do
doing
it.
But then you talk like the Main and a Hot Mulligan, Daisy Grenade are fucking great.
It's cool to see Fall Out Boy be one of these bands who like went way outside of this scene and could obviously take fucking 2 little pop stars on tour with them and nobody would bat an eye. But here they are and they're like, get fucking Hot Mulligan on this bitch. Let's go. They're emo as we used to be.
Well,
I
this
like
is
it.
like I don't know. Is this like that Pete Wentz like label shit coming back out to play? Like this is like Pete Wentz just has an ear for this
the
type
only
of
artist
music.
on here that I know is on like
No,
Fueled by
I don't- I
Ramen
don't-
is
I
like
don't-
Games We Play.
I don't mean it like that. I mean this more as like a Pete Wentz has always been like one of those like has an ear for this type of music. People like,
but I think
ear to
Patrick
the
Stump is a
ground.
little bit too in a way that we don't give him enough credit, and I think so
Sure,
are the. I think
probably.
Fall Out Boy in general, because it's like one guy's like I actually just sort of fuck with hardcore music, but I play in Fall Out Boy. You know what I mean? So it's like I think they all maybe have a little bit of that, but it's like it's rare to see bands of this size actually do this. It's like you go and you look at a
this
lot of
is
those
like the
bills from like
supersized version of what Black Bear did last year with like Hot Milk, the not Hot Mulligan. Who's that other band?
Heart Attack Band?
Heart Attack Band.
Yeah. Water Proxy was on that Black Bear thing?
Yes.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, man, there are bands who are like so fucking big, and Black Bear honestly is one of them. But I think for Black Bear, it's almost like a little bit of if you want to play pop punk, you almost need a bill that like helps you. Fall Out Boy doesn't need the help of these bands. Like everybody's just gonna go see Fall Out Boy and pray they play all that shit. It's just like it's such a make-a-wish, I feel like, for so many of these bands. It's just cool to see it.
It's
know?
nuts.
And it's just like I think back to like that last Panic at the Disco tour, and it's just like I feel like I just remember like 2 acoustic artists that I'd never heard of like before, and it's like, my guy, like, come on, Brendan, like. Fucking, there are so many bands in this scene that would like, the dream would be to play with like a Panic at the Disco, right? And be put on that stage. Like the whole point is that like, we hope the scene would feed back into itself. And it's like, it's cool to see like Fall Out Boy doing this shit. It's cool that My Chemical Romance did that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still personally love this whole, we're not just bringing out 2 artists on this tour. You might not see them all, but we're going to bring like 12 different artists out on the bill. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess My Chem is probably the best example.
I'm still hot and cold with it because you're so much a victim of whatever your date is. So it's like, oh, it's cool we're doing this variety of bands. And then you get the 2 that you're like least enthusiastic about.
Yeah, and then you look at the Cali dates and you're like, well, that's what I would have wanted, yes.
Right.
But, like, it's still cool. It's such a great opportunity for all these bands. It's massive.
Yeah, 100%. Marcus, Dead Poet Society have dropped 2 new singles, Running in Circles and Hurt, alongside a music video spanning both tracks.
Are you insane? Look at how you're living. Is it what you really wanted? What you really wanted? You're waiting on a miracle and you gotta let it go. Tired and afraid, the reality of getting old. Tired legacy and you will never make it out. No. What the hell did you hurt yourself for this?
The band is currently supporting Nothing More on the Spirits tour alongside Hyro the Hero and Plus Profit.
Isn't it Hero the Hero?
No, it's Hyro the Hero. What
Is
the
it
fuck do you
Hyro the
mean,
Hero?
Hero the Hero.
Hero
Who the
the
fuck
Hero.
is that? No, that's
I don't know.
Oh, you're saying that's how it's pronounced?
No, I just feel like that would be the fun way to pronounce it.
Hero the Hero.
Hero the
Fuck, are you
Hero
right?
the Hero, you know?
Are you right? Maybe that is it.
I don't
Right
know. I
in.
might be
Comment
wrong.
below if that's how you pronounce Hero the Hyro
I
the
think
Hero.
you're right. I think it is Hyro the Hero, but I would prefer to call them Hero.
I just feel like phonetically that's how I would read it. How do you feel about the new Dead Poet Society songs?
I liked Hurt more than I liked Running in Circles.
Hers just got more of the right vibe. It's just got like it's the band, like it's just a little more fuck shit. It's just a little more upbeat, and it's got this
They're playing
great
in the
moment.
kitchen.
Yeah, but it's like it's got this great moment where they almost just like jam out in a way that just like really like gives me a good feel for like what Dead Poet
And
Society
it's missing
is.
a little bit from that first track.
Running Circles just feel like it's a little more standard, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't really break the mold in a way that's like as fun, but Hurt does. What do you think of the idea of sort of like tying 2 music video to, like tying 2 songs together in like one long spanning like conceptual music video?
Really like it. I wish more bands actually did this.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, especially if we're going to see bands keep doing this thing where they drop like 2 singles, right?
Especially when like this does have ties from the first music video to the second. It's not like one
They
of those
bridge
things
it
where it's
well.
like, here's 2 singles and here's 2 videos we did at the same time, but we don't want to release them separately or anything. Like these have like narrative through lines connecting.
I'm trying
one
to
another.
remember. I know Paris did this earlier this year, but I can't remember if the video was tied together in that way or if it was sort of just like one long
It may have-
video that was like just 2 videos kind of like stapled together. I'd have to go back and watch it.
Aesthetically, definitely, because it was like the same director.
It definitely didn't have a story. Like this is kind of like communicating a story,
No.
but like aesthetically, it might have been similar. Yeah.
Thematically, maybe similar. I don't know.
Too Close to Touch have released their new single, Hopeless.
Sleep through the sound of the same drum, like we're both numb to the withering away. But decay is a problem that we welcome to the home we made. Eyes are gray together, train the color in the astral.
The song features and is dedicated in loving memory of vocalist Keaton Pierce, and Telly Smith of The Word Alive was brought in for additional vocal support. I believe as well as Eric Ron, but I think Eric Ron is more of a backing vocal type thing, whereas Telly has more of a front and center presence.
More prominent as a guest feature.
So there's a lot to fucking take in with this one. It was, I'm not gonna lie, extremely fucking hard to listen to in a way that's just like, this is beautiful, but goddamn does it make me so goddamn sad to think about how Keaton is no longer with us.
My listening experience was a little different. It was very much the same in the sense that, like, I anticipated it being very hard to listen to. When I finally brought myself to do it, I listened to this song 10 times in a row just because it was a very good Too Close to Touch song. One of many, like, one of all of them. Like, this band's only ever had great songs. This song is no different than those tracks. It's fucking great. So when I listened to it initially, obviously heartbreaking, hard to do, but then I just couldn't turn it off because, like, just at surface level, it is a really good song.
It's just like, it was one of those cases where it's just like, I kept putting it off. It was like, I felt like I had to be in the right mindset to listen to this. And then when I finally did, it just sort of did feel like a relief. And it's like, it's something about it that, like, it feels somehow more in line with a Too Close to Touch that I very much remember every time I think about that band. And I don't know if it's exactly like what we were getting off of the last couple EPs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe
where I feel like they were stylistically, like, trying some different things out and, like, maybe moving around some different genres. But this feels like it feels quintessentially this band.
Yeah, not the same Too Close that we left off with, but an extremely extremely familiar Too Close when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great song. Keaton sounds incredible. The whole band does. I'm really appreciative of Telly jumping on this. I think it's the second song Telly's been on with Too Close to Touch, because there was, I forget what song it was, but there was a track that featured him on Nerve Endings, if I'm not mistaken.
I'd have to go back and check, yeah.
And then obviously Eric Ron for putting this whole thing together and making it sound as great as it does. Keaton sounds absolutely fucking flawless. Part of that's because Keaton's vocals have always been incredible, but I think Eric Ron, again, is the marriage between Too Close and Eric Ron is my favorite between any band and producer ever.
Because the crazy thing too is it just feels like
they're just so perfect for each other.
You almost also hear Too Close to Touch in everything else that, like, Eric Ron produces in a way. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like they are like one in themselves. I'm just glad we get to see this story sort of continue in some capacity, you know. Yeah. Hey everybody, it's been an episode. Hug your loved ones. Have a good week. And we'll see you soon.
Keaton forever.